It's the monster! Rodan!
Greetings and salutations, YouTubers. This is Zillafan85, and I, of course, represent YouTube's bargain basement of the airwaves. I'm back today with my latest video, my latest figure review. Today, a really awesome one I was looking forward to. This is my newly arrived Y-MSF 1964 Rodan figure. Oh, heck yeah. And before we jump into it, I want to first and foremost, I should say, give a very big and major shout out and thank you to my good friend Nick at the Monster Report. He helped me out with those opening little clips there for the skits, for the skit that I was doing here for this video. So again, thank you so much, Nick. You know, he was just really awesome with his video editing skills and abilities that he's got. So I really appreciate all his help there. And I also added my own little flair into some of that opening skit as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed all that. But again, you know, thank you so much, Nick, at the Monster Report. If you guys haven't already, please check his channel out. He really does awesome content. You know, again, mostly Godzilla and Kaiju related stuff, just as I do. Again, just really an awesome guy and awesome stuff that he makes. So let's go ahead, though, and jump on into this figure review here. So again, this is the Y-MSF 1964 Rodan figure. I got this just recently. Was really glad to pick it up. I think it came out a year, maybe 2 years ago, something around there, from Y-MSF. Again, they're a smaller company, but they really put out some cool figures, and I didn't have a 64 Rodan in my collection, and you know, this was definitely a classic design from the Showa era, and was really happy to get this. So, you know, of course, this most specifically depicted from Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, but essentially the same design for, you know, Godzilla vs. Monster Zero / Invasion of the Astro Monster, whichever title you prefer. And I believe a little bit of a tweaked version that they used of this design for Destroy All Monsters, but basically the same. I do prefer the original 1956 design over the 64. This one has, you know, some people note kind of that little bit of that goofy kind of look to it, but I still find it very charming, and I still really love it. You know, of course, grew up with this design from the films. But let's go ahead, let's jump on into the figure review here, though, folks. We're going to start with the paint and the detail work. Really fantastic job by Y-MSF. Like I said, they do not skimp here at all. Let's start and go ahead and bring the figure in close. We're going to go ahead and start with the face design here. Hopefully I can pick it up with the camera, but you guys can see. So again, on the face, the head, it's sort of this grayish brown paint scheme, which is indicative of this Rodan's design. Really nice. You got some nice bumps and grooves on the top of the head there, as you guys can see that. Really nicely done, nicely textured. And of course, you got the two horns that protrude out from the back top part of his head there, that done in this sort of creamish, like a yellowish creamish bone color, I would say. It's fairly sharp to the touch at the end as well, so definitely be mindful of that. But really cool nonetheless, though. And then you move down into the face area. You got that pronounced eyebrows that he's got, and of course you got that signature white eyes and black pupils, those big black pupils that he's got. Again, very signature of this Rodan's design. And then in front of the eyes, you got those on each side, you got that horn, those little horns that, or spikes I should say, that kind of protrude out. in front of the eyes before you get to where his beak is. So you guys can sort of depict those as well. So very, very cool. And then that beak again done in this sort of yellowish, creamish bone color. And again, on the end of it, it's pretty sharp to the touch though, folks. Nice little curvature on it as well, as you guys can see. Really, really cool. We've got the line indentation for the top and the bottom part of the beak. This is the closed mouth version. Y-MSF also did make an open mouth version of this, but I was more inclined to get the closed mouth, so that's what I went with there. But then going down into the neck area, see on the front part here, got these sort of like bumps and sort of osteoderms and some lines and grooves on the neck there, as you guys can see. Again, it's all done in that grayish brown paint scheme there. On the back of the neck, again, more wrinkles and lines depicting Rodan's neck. Very captured very well, and I kind of feel very screen accurate, honestly. Really, really is. And then, of course, you move down into his chest and abdomen area. Again, you've got the grayish brown paint scheme done for the body there. And you got all those bumps and osteoderms that he's got on his like chest and abdomen. And then mixed in with those is where you got the signature spikes that protrude out from his chest and abdomen, carrying all the way down from the top part of the chest all the way down to the lower abdomen area, almost where the legs are. Right there, as you guys can see. Again, done in that yellowish. And these are more of like a creamish. These are more yellowed, the horns and the beak. These spikes here on his chest and abdomen are done in more of a creamish paint scheme, like a cream bone color. Kind of the best way to depict it. And again, these are fairly sharp to the touch, and you guys can see they are asymmetrical, so to give it more of a natural look. Again, from my recollection, very, very screen accurate. Really, really captured well. And then, of course, you guys can see the wings, the outer parts of the wings on the front here, done in that grayish brown paint scheme. Of course, you got these 3 nubs, if you will, on each side for the finger claws there. These are a little on the larger side. Like one reviewer, from what I saw, said kind of like banana-y looking. I can kind of see that these should have been a little bit smaller, and they're kind of doled out as well when you get to the tips. So if there's any kind of drawback on the design here, I guess that would be it, where his finger claws are on each of his wings. But still, nonetheless, though, really, really fantastic attention to detail. Otherwise, though, again, all the wrinkles and some bumps and osteoderms on the outer layers of the wings on the front here. And then the center parts, the inner parts of the front of the wings is really where the design pops. It really stands out, in my opinion. You guys can see it's like a lighter, like a tannish brown that's done for these parts of the wings here. And again, you got a lot of lines and wrinkles and grooves, and a lot of like this sort of membrane looking design choice to capture the detail work on the wings. Just laying it down for a second just to kind of go over with you guys. Textured extremely well. Again, very, very screen accurate here. Really, really looks awesome. And I like the way that they blend the grayish brown on the outer part with the tannish brown for the inner part of the wings. Very, very cool, folks. And as you go down into the legs there, you guys can see more wrinkles and lines, capturing that detail work for his legs. Again, all done in that grayish brown paint scheme. And as you get down into the feet, the patterning for the feet there, nice segments, wrinkles done here. And then as you go into the toe claws there, the toes and toe claws on each of the feet, and those are done in more of that sort of sort of yellowish bone color there, as you guys can see. So very, very cool, folks. Look on the bottom, pretty plain Jane, but you do got all your trademark information there. So your trademark, Toho Company Limited, and then your Y-MSF LLC trademark information there on the bottom of the feet. Very, very cool, folks. I'm just taking a look on the back part of him. As you get to his back area, upper and lower back, you see you got that little row of like a dorsal spine, like a small dorsal spine row that goes down his back from the top to the bottom here, as you guys can see, just to capture that bit of detail. Again, all this done in that grayish brown paint scheme there. You can see all the grayish brown on the wings, and then it fades into that more tannish brown on the wings, just like you got on the front part. And again, really, really captured well. You can see all the bombs, osteoderms, all the wrinkles, and that membrane-looking feature of it. Really, really cool. I just absolutely love this figure. This is really an awesome figure, in my opinion, folks. But I really love a lot of the Y-MSF figures. I think they're very, very well done. But just a showcase for you guys there. And then you got into that sort of three-tipped tail, like almost sort of like a fan, like a trident type fan tail that Rodan has. This the 60s Showa Rodan, very, very signature of his design there. It's a strange looking tail, but it's certainly unique for sure, and it's pretty cool looking. Again, done in that grayish brown paint scheme. You got some bumps, osteoderms, you got some lines and grooves on it. Really, really nicely done. You guys can see more of that design on the front part of that tail too. Very, very cool. So again, just kind of giving you guys another little look-see around him. Really, really awesome. So, you know, definitely a fair amount to go over as far as the paint and the detail goes, though, folks. But that pretty much wraps it up for that. Now, as far as articulation goes on this guy, so again, it's essentially a vinyl figure, the type of vinyl that Y-MSF uses. So it's standard fare, basic articulation. So you do have a joint here at the base of the neck. So you can turn it and it will spin all the way around, as you guys can see there. So very cool. And then you have articulation at the legs here, at these two joints there. So these can spin. You can, again, they have enough segue to spin all the way around, like so. So very, very cool. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention these sort of Duke claws that Rodan's got on the back of his feet. Again, done in that sort of yellowed out bone color. Nice and pointy as well. So just an extra thing there as it's rotating legs. But anyways, though, as far as the articulation goes, so just the 3 points of articulation, nothing crazy or fancy. You can see where there's kind of like a glue seal at the wings, but I wouldn't mess with that. I don't like to mess with glue seals anyway. So just basic articulation, but it certainly gets the job done, though. So that pretty much covers it for that. As far as sizing goes, let me go ahead and take out my handy dandy ruler first, so we can see how Rodan measures up here. Position it correctly, folks. All right, bring the camera in so you guys can see. He's a little over 6.5 inches, a little bit less than like between 6.5 and 7 inches. If you're looking at the top part of those horns at the top part of the head, it's more in that 6.5 inch range. So with that, pretty standard fare for your 6 to 7 inch figures, I should say here. Positioning the camera, folks. Sorry. But nonetheless, really, really, so pretty much in that standard fare, like I said, in that 6 to 7 inch range. As a little size comparison, I do have my Y-MSF 1964 Godzilla figure here, which again I did previously review a few years back on my channel, so you guys can see the way these guys stack up together here. So the 64, he is hunched forward, so if he was more upright, it would be pretty much about in line, because Rodan and Godzilla are essentially the same size in this film here, in the show era here. So, but you guys can see the way these figures look together. Now, this is the what we really note as the 64 Type A design of Godzilla. The 64 Type B, the 64 Type A was used in Mothra vs. Godzilla. The 64 Type B was the one that was used in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. And they made some changes on the facial features, because they had to kind of redo the head sculpt, since there was damage to the jaw and whatnot for the Type A version. So, but still, it's the same basic look. I do prefer the Type A version, because the Type B just has like softer features. Type A is much more menacing looking Godzilla, and I personally always like that flappy jowl, even if it was by a mistake, but you know, nonetheless. But just so you guys can see how they look together there, very, very awesome. I'll go pull him back here, and getting back to it here. So now, as far as pricing goes, so again, these Y-MSF figures, they essentially have a limited production run, so there's only so many that are, you know, of course, produced of these figures, and they do tend to be on the pricier side, as a result of which these are, you know, considerably more than like your standard fare, you know, Bandai Movie Monster series figures and what have you. So that being said, you're looking at, from what I've seen online of these guys, and you know what I had to unfortunately pay to play, that you are looking over $100 on these figures here. On this Rodan here, I've seen him upwards of $120 and up. So it is something to keep in mind, though, folks, you know, and especially for a vinyl figure, it is considerably pricey. But again, that's kind of standard fare for Y-MSF, so you just got to keep that in mind. But if you are willing to pay to play, it's a fantastic figure, in my opinion. So other than that, though, folks, I think that pretty much wraps it up for this video. I would like to thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like to subscribe, please feel free to do so. If you would like to like and or comment on any of my videos, please feel free to do so as well. And just remember, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, you be good to yourselves, and sayonara.